And we are live. It is Sunday, July the 26th. Wow, July's almost over already. 2020. Wow, actually, you know what? I'm happy 2020 is just flying by. It's 8:02 p.m. Eastern, 5:02 p.m. Pacific, 1:02 a.m. in China Guitar Skeptic's bedroom. Welcome to the Sunday Night Hang. Tonight, I'm Ben. No, wait, I'm always Ben. Well, welcome tonight. I'm Ben, comma, there's punctuation, and welcome my good buddy here from Arkansas, which is a cool state that's produced some hella good musicians over the years. Want to finally get on here, Brian Landreth. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, Ben. Thanks for having me on. I've been looking forward to it all week.
Yeah.
Let me get my, there we go.
I was going to say, you get the chat open because I just saw it. It says the first blip we got says we got 20 people in here already. So I'm going to get to the shout outs because you know how that goes. I think we'll have to just do it shotgun style. Let's see. We've got Absolute Mayhem, Randy Crooks, JP Page 2, Bent Tom, Martin Lemaire, Knucklehead 0, Unfucking Believable, 3 Triple G. We've got a lot of them talking to each other. There's Nikki Ice. Welcome back, Nikki. Love to see you. The Dog Post here, Jack Collins, Brad Miller, Susie Cherry, PJ in the Beard, which means there's trouble right there because they're gonna ask all the best questions. Oh Lord. All right, bring it on, bring it on. We've got the Jam Cave hanging out here. We've got BC Rich 581, Albus Band, Mitch Heyman, LPD Pedals, Fender Guru, Hugh Caldwell, Adam D, Thomas Santiago. I think Dennis Brio in Under the Wire. I think that's everybody. Welcome one, welcome all. If you have a question for myself or Brian, tag us in the chat, and we might actually answer the question. Lefty Mike, welcome. Now you get to say hello to a bunch of people you always want to say hello to.
Well, that's the whole list. But a couple of people I really want to pick out. I'd like to say hi to PJ in the Beard because they've been really good to me, and I've enjoyed dealing with them. And I want to say hi especially to Janice Lala. She is the most loyal. She'll watch every video you put out. She's on there all the time. She puts out great videos herself. I just wanted to give Janice a shout out. And then of course there's the regular bunch, Dog Paw, Albus Band, Bent Tom. Some of these people I just can't type as fast. And so a lot of people I miss, and I'd like to just say hi to everybody.
Yes. And let me remind you about that, Brian. When you're working on Sunday nights, if you say hey to me, hey, I'm on the road, I'll relay it on behalf, and I'll just say blanket hellos on behalf of Brian.
I appreciate that. I was going to tell you about my nightly 500 I always talk about. I drive 125 miles 2 times, or 2 trips. So that's 250 miles round trip. On the good shows, I make almost 3 rounds. I'll get 300 miles before you go off. I've got a little bracket on my dash. I turn it on my stereo, and I watch and listen. And every once in a while, I can get over there and say something.
Sure.
Because I got a lot of straight road, and I don't mind breaking a law every once in a while.
Well, you got to bend a law every once in a while.
Well, yeah, because they're just suggestions,
Exactly. There's Mars Man. What's up, Doc?
I see that.
Who else did I see jump in here? Christopher, hello. Jay Steen. Yeah, we got a whole crew in here. Yeah, Susie, good to see you. Awesome. I hope everybody got in on that LPD sale that ended yesterday. He had that 68 Deluxe on for 25% off. Whew.
I didn't get it, but I should have. Gosh. I'll tell you, I had a question for Lawrence. If you're listening.
Well, before you have your question for Lawrence, I better say hello to my cousin Doug, because you know how he is. He'll start texting me if I don't say hello. And I see what you did there, Doug. Go ahead.
But something I thought about this week, I was playing my 87. I wonder how it feels when you build a pedal and then you see an artist use it in a way that you might have never thought of. Does that ever happen? How does that feels pretty good. You kind of probably feel proud like it's one of your children, doesn't it?
I can kind of answer that because when I was playing at NAMM, Aaron was tweaking on the pedals, and at some point I had a sound I'd never heard before, and I think he had both the 68 and 74 on at the same time. And Lawrence came over himself to look over. And he goes, "I never would have thought of that."
Well, see, that's what I do.
Yeah, and it was the way he tweaked it too.
But that's what I like to do. I like to take a pedal and I like to ring it out every way I can find and come up with something new. Like yesterday, I found a new trick for the 87. I've got a blue guitar amp one.
Right.
I like the power amp in it, but the preamp in it is it's hard to adjust. Well, I just stuck the 87 in the return on the FX and used the 87 as the preamp. It is great. It sounds way better and it does everything that it's supposed to do. Plus I've got all that.
Yeah.
And then I had it going where I had it on the green channel with the gain turned fairly low, where I had a pretty good clean sound. And then I had that Stinger fuzz going, and I basically could play all night on just those two things right there.
Mm-hmm. Aaron, yeah, we know you have a symbiotic relationship with pedals. And we got Vance Hicks joining us. Tempest is here. Nikki Tedesco, which she is going to be my guest next week on here.
Who is that?
Nikki Tedesco.
I was just reading where somebody got banned.
Oh,
and Blackjack Guitar Nut. I can't tag people on a phone. And I'm sorry, I butchered the way you spell your name, but hello, every time I see you. Okay, I do see and I try to answer, but it always comes out kind of garbled.
I also got to give a shout out to Eddie Van Haskell, Zach Thong, Rick Hefner, Michael Cross. Man, I got to have more guests like you on, Brian. See, you're a real deal. We got everybody jumping in.
Yeah, I've seen the guests you've had. I kind of lowered your standards a little bit. We'll get through it. Hey, Jason, yes, I did get a Stinger fuzz. And talking about Tim Lewis, there's another guy that builds some great pedals.
Mm-hmm.
I know one thing. If I keep making friends with guitar builders, I'm going to go pro. Because I want everything they build,
Speaking of players, I see Guitar Meets Science is in here.
Hey, Jimmy.
Nice.
But that Stinger fuzz, I never really cared for a muff fuzz, and I know how you feel about fuzzes anyway. You're kind of
I'm getting better.
But with that mid control on it, and you can turn the gain back, you get into like a sound you could actually use. A muff, you'll never get through the mix. They're just for at home and making you feel fun. But you take that mid control and you can actually get out and use it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's built like a tank.
Well, you see, the problem with I started down that road of fuzzes. I have to place 50% of the blame on you. Because one of the pedals you had given me was a fuzz, and I had always just used them on their own, right? I'd never stacked them into something dirty. Like that light bulb never went off. And the first time I had used that fuzz you sent me, I had left on, I think it might have been the 87 on the green channel. And all of a sudden I went, oh, good Lord, listen to that awesomeness. And then I went to Summer NAMM as well, and I played the Haunted Labs Carolina Reaper, same idea, a dual fuzz and overdrive, and I went, holy crap, I get it now.
Right. And fuzzes, you've just got to learn to like, it's just so different. It's another thing. You've got to learn it,
Yeah.
But it's so cool because your notes just sustain forever.
Oh yeah.
I know. And then you sound like you can play better than you can, and I need all that I can get. Well,
and I always heard too, a fuzz face and a Strat and a fuzz face and a Strat. Well, I always played a fuzz face with the bridge pickup on a Strat, and I thought it sounded like a Hornet in a tin can. I was like, this isn't usable. And then I started watching some RJ Ronquillo stuff, and he's using the neck pickup all the time, and I went, oh, okay, because I was backing off the volume, but I was doing, a little flick of the switch, and all of a sudden, ooh, that's usable.
Well, the fuzz face is just like part of your instrument. It's really not a pedal. I mean, you've got to play it just like, because it's all tied into your impedance and everything. You get all that right, and it sounds great. If you get it wrong, it just sounds like refried shit. I mean,
that's the truth. What's up, Doc? Is thinking your volume's still a touch low. Do you want to try goosing it a bit more?
How about now?
Sounds fine to me. Yeah, you're not clipping.
Let me see if I can get this a little closer.
Nice.
I don't think I can do a lot better than that. I can shout.
Oh,
yeah,
Lord.
that's what I said.
So Ben Tom's going to quote. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, nice.
I feel kind of honored.
Let's see. I did see a question. Mayhem was asking if you have a favorite blues lick or blues scale.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to think. Yeah.
Just leave it at yeah.
Well, you know, I use the minor blues scale probably the most, and I do that little Chuck Berry thing where you hit the G string and then I don't know, like the beginning of Johnny Be Good or something. I don't know. Actually, the more I think about it, the worse I play. I've done it for so long, and it's funny on scales. No matter how hard I try to learn other things, I have just figured out I've got to go with that minor blues scale and then modify it. If I want Dorian, I add a couple notes on this end. If I want Mixolydian, well, I do it this way, But in my head, I'm still looking at, the minor blues scale. And in fact, I'm actually looking at it in A. It doesn't matter what key I'm in. When I go to the 4 chord, it's D. And in my head, I'm seeing D. I don't care where I'm
at. Yeah.
But it works,
Yep.
And I've got another little gripe. If you can let me go off into something, Dean, real quick.
Feel free.
I've been trying to learn theory, okay? And theory sounds, it's so complicated to explain. And then the people that know it, like I can watch Rick Beato for about a minute and a half, and he's lost me.
Yeah, same here.
And then I got to digging into it and really trying to figure something out. Honestly, theory is easy. Those jazz guys are just showing off, trying to make it hard. It's really not hard. If you can count to 12 and know your ABCs up to G, you can figure out theory in a couple days because it's just the same thing over and over. Now, it's mind-bendingly hard to explain, but once you get that basic part, it makes everything easy. It makes everything make sense. If you learn your major scale and where all your notes are on your keyboard, the rest of it is easy. But when people try to explain it, they always want to go, well, you could go to the minor 7th and the 16th note, and then you want to use the Locrian scale. And man, I got the modes figured out. Okay, major is anything like Happy Birthday, any major song, right? It's minor, well, that's A. A minor. Well, that's kind of your sad stuff, and that's kind of an extension of your blues. Mixolydian, that's the Allman Brothers. Dorian, well, that's Santana, and then Locrian or Phrygian, the E, well, that's heavy metal. So that's all it is. When you want to play Allman Brothers, you go to Mixolydian, and all that is the major scale with a flat 7th, which is the same note you play in all the blues chords, A7, D7. It's so simple to do, but like I'm already making it complicated because it's just too damn hard to explain.
No, see, actually, you pretty much dumbed it down to the point where I was getting that because I was like, oh, I'm kind of figuring that. I'm like, no, I won't remember this. I never do.
Well, I'll tell you a little secret. You know how it always puzzled me because when I tried to play bass and you're playing, like a blues jam, if you go anywhere, you're going to play something and say A7th, D7th, and E7th. I mean, that's a safe bet. Everybody's going to do it. We all know a 7th. Well, when I tried to play it on bass, I didn't realize, you've got to play a major run because it is a major 7th.
Right.
What it is that 7th note is lowered. So it's a minor 7th in a major scale. And that's why when you're playing guitar, you can get away with playing the minor blues scale over those major chords because you got that minor note there.
Right.
And so Eric Clapton, what he would do is he would play a major lick, and then when it would go to 4, he would hit that 7th, which is your 4. It's part of your 4 chord, And I don't understand, but it works. Okay, it's just that simple. If you play half a major and half a minor with those chords, you're gold.
Jimmy
You
Page,
can make it work.
same
Right.
thing.
And Jimmy Page was pro at it.
Yeah.
But and like I said, even talking about it, it's complicated, but it's really simple.
Yeah.
You know, if I tell you where a lot of people really hurt themselves learning guitar, is they don't learn all their notes on their fretboard, where they're all at. I know where all the A's, B's, and I found out a trick. I learned something from a teacher that I didn't like, but she was right. If you write something down, I drew a picture of my fretboard and I drew the notes in. I did that probably 20 times, and I know them. And if I'm going to learn lyrics for a song, if I write them down, I'll know them forever. But if I can listen to a song 100 times and forget the lyrics, but once I write them down, and it's something about your brain. There's teachers in here that explain that. But
sure,
what you write, it's a different part of your memory. You remember what you write, but you don't really always remember what you hear because you hear too much. You know, it'd be awful if you remembered everything you heard.
Ain't that the truth? Yeah, I always say, like, I know the major and the minor pentatonics. If you want to stick in one scale over the changes, stick to your minor. But if you want to play the major, you got to play over the changes.
That's true. That's true. Or you can jump in that minor on the changes and come back to the major on the one.
Yeah.
And if all else fails, bend.
Yeah. Yeah. And what was it? I think it was when I first met Quentin James, he said, even the wrong notes are only off by one.
Well, I was just fixing to say something about that. The right note's always at least a half a fret away. But out of any song, any set of chords, any key, you got 12 notes to work with, right? I mean, we work in a Western scale, we use 12 notes. Well, any song, 6 of those notes will work. So you got 50-50 shot of hitting it no matter what you do.
Exactly. And then, like, say, if you hit a wrong note, you bend into the right one.
Exactly. And if nothing else, then you look at the bass player like he messed up.
Works every time.
Yeah.
See, Lawrence says there's a note game on the fretboard. There is one of each note on each string between the open and 12th. Find them and play them. Exactly.
And I'll tell you something else that helped me learning scales too. I learn them on one string at a time. Like say, for instance, E major. Well, I go right down the one string from first to fret. I learn that scale on that.
Great idea. I like that.
And then I learn it on the A string, and then I keep working my way down. And by the time I know it on all 6 strings, I can go anywhere on that scale. I don't have to be stuck in a box or a shape or anything like that because I know it on each string. So all I can do is just where I'm on this string, here's where I go. It's a good way to get your mind out of the boxes. I think boxes and people focus on shapes too much. This is this scale shape. This is this. And all you really need to know is, the intervals. And it's pretty simple because every chord's got first note, third note, and a fifth. Well, that third is either going to be a minor or a major. You can fake the rest.
Exactly. I agree. And PJ in the Beard says, no bad notes, and play it twice, it's jazz.
Yeah, jazz, I'm sorry. I try to like jazz, and I can appreciate these guys. They can just blow. I mean, they're awesome. But I don't know. Every once in a while, I'll hear something that's jazz. Well, honestly, I like jazz more than I thought. If they sneak it into me from a different direction. Government Mule plays a lot of jazzy stuff, and I like it because I like Warren Haynes.
Right.
But he had John Scofield on there, and it was a jazz song. Loved it. But you start talking about Miles Davis or somebody, which I know Miles is good, but, and I noticed another thing about jazz people. They always bring up these people nobody ever heard of and call them a legend. Oh, yeah, I know Sax most right. Yeah, he was a legend. And Benny Sticks. Oh, yeah. No, and about 8 people have heard of them. Now, they might have been brilliant musicians. I'm not putting them down, but, everybody knows Jimmy Page.
Yeah. Derek Truck sneaks
and
in the jazz.
You're right. Yeah,
and Lawrence is just taking it to another level. Every note is a good note. There are just better and worse resolutions. Well, let's not get into resolving notes and stuff,
Well,
The
anyway,
easiest
that's about
resolution.
my.
Like I say, when in doubt, you look at the bass player. I've resolved more than one guitar solo that way.
That's right. Well, I mean, that's about the end of my theory, and probably the people that actually know theory are just rolling their eyes. But
Yeah.
that's like when people are trying to explain the relative minor or how to play a G. Like somebody told me hey, it was an Allman Brothers song. We were playing, I think, Rambling Man, and I said, "What?" I was trying to play the minor pentatonic, it wasn't working. The guy says, "Play it E, but land on G." Works perfect because that's it right there. Your G major scale is your E minor, and everybody knows
Yep.
that. So just land on G. Well, everything fell into place.
Exactly. Ben Tom, thirds and sevenths for the win.
Well, yeah, in seventh, and then they try to get fancy with ninths and 11th. Well, hell, just subtract 7, and it's just a second and a fourth. Again,
Yeah.
if you know how to count to 12, it's not that hard.
Right.
Well, anyway, that's theory. Now, what else is going on in here?
Yeah. There you go, folks.
We covered that in 8 minutes.
Love it. Love it. Well, and it's funny because just as you're wrapping it up, here we are wrapping up theory. I look up and the time signature was 21:12. So there we go.
Perfect. We took care of theory. Now, any other problems we need solving?
I was going to say now we could go the opposite route of theory and we could talk rockabilly in Memphis 2-string.
I play in a blues jam with a guy named George Scape. And he is in the Rockabilly Hall of Fame. And he's the one that actually produced that one song I did about the big behind.
Right.
He knows, he was a recording guy in Nashville. He knows Rockabilly. And, we got some really good Rockabilly people came out of this area. Sonny Burgess, and everybody was recording out of Memphis. Well, that's where Rockabilly came from. But Rockabilly, I'll tell you where it gets me is every time I go to a blues jam or anywhere blues related, I remember every country song that I ever knew and could play, right? But if I go to a country gig, I'm wanting to play every blues or rock and roll song. I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
But
very true. I get it. Yeah, I want to say, hey, we got both the Taft brothers in the chat here. Milt and Mark Taft are here. Good to see you. My knees hurt. Nice. Brian Dickerson, hello. Awesome. Yes, I was going to mention, yes. Now, you're doing blues jams. Are you familiar? Because I'm pretty sure he's still, up until COVID, he was hosting a blues jam as Tommy Ray Gatlin, drummer.
That name seems familiar, but I'm not. I can't recall right now.
He would be son of C.W. Gatlin, who is in the Rockabilly Hall of Fame as well.
Okay, wait a minute. Yes, I do know who you're talking about now. Yes.
Yeah, so I was wondering if you had ever played with him at any of the jams, perhaps.
No. I really had not been doing blues jams a couple of years. I tell you, blues jams are hard. They sound easy,
but try one. That's what I say.
Because you get up on stage, you have no sound check, you have no idea what you sound like, you're too loud, and they call out a song, and sometimes it's hard to hear the difference in B and C or G. You don't know, or you don't know the song at all, and they just take off playing, and then they point at you, do a solo. Okay, well, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And I went down in New Jersey, and then I went to this one where I go now, and me and a friend of mine, Tony Harden, he's a guy I've been playing about 50 years. He's a really good guitar player, and he's taught me a lot. And like the last 3 years, he's spent a lot of time, and we've worked together, and we get up together and play. Some reason we play totally different styles, but they fit, and so we actually sound like we know what we're doing. And he can play, and I fake it. But they kind of let us get up and do our songs because we know the bass player and the keyboard player and the drummer. And it's not always the same bass player, but what it is, it's a group of about 25 people get together and jam. It's just like a party. So we can intermingle like any one of us could mix and match and go do a gig. You know, we all know each other's songs, and we all have the ones that we do. And
Sure.
And you know, to tell you the truth, the best place in the world to hear music is on stage. There's no other better place to be than on stage when music is playing and be a part of it.
I agree. And for me, the second best is side stage. I like a good stage mix. You know, I want to hear wedge monitors for the vocals, and I want to hear the amps and the drums.
Yeah, I've never tried in-ear monitors, and they scare me. I would hate to do that.
Yeah, I have no desire. Wow, we got a bunch of people jumped in here. We got Little Roadie Guitar. We've got Emma Weber's here. Han 36 Solo. Man, what else did I see?
Bailey?
Chat's flying is what it is. There it is. Sound Propeller Patrick, Dwight Bailey, Stu Rat 5150. Yeah, wow. We got quite the crowd. Dwight Bailey. Keep doing those videos. Man, talk about passion when he plays. That guy just gives it.
He gets on it and goes. And he's got an amazing guitar collection. I mean, every time he's just breaking out some badass Jackson or Gibson. I mean, it's...
Yeah.
And he's got a cool jacket he's wearing now, and even the hat. To go.
Right? I know. Looking pretty badass.
Somebody asked me about my influences. Well, I'm from Arkansas. So I had to say Leonard Skinner, because that was just what you heard every day, and all the bands around could play. Well, I can play some Leonard Skinner. But my blues, but that kind of lasted till I got 18. And what happened was in 1983, actually I was driving a tractor, and they did an interview, or they came on and they were talking about Huey Lewis was going to play in Little Rock that night. And this is back when shows were $12, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, you know what? I called my buddy, said, let's go. Well, they interviewed this guy from Texas that I kind of heard one of his songs, and his name was Stevie something. And so I called him, said, hey, let's go see Huey Lewis. This is back when that album was big and before, you know. And it was Stevie Ray Vaughan, of course. And he came out, and I've seen shows. I started going to shows in about 70 and 71 when I was 6 years old. That was Alice Cooper in Black Oak, Arkansas. I had never seen nothing like that. I mean, it was just, you know, the opening act was so good that Huey Lewis didn't even get through his first song. And I looked at the dude who was with him, man, let's go. It cannot get any better than what we just saw. And then I went and bought a Stratocaster the next day. And then I did what a lot of people should do if they hadn't done it. You know, of course, I like Eric Clapton, and I like Jimmy Page, and I like Pink Floyd, and I like, you know, all the bands, what we call classic rock. Well, it was cutting edge back in my day. But I got to listen to what all they played, especially like, you know, John Mayall and the Blues Breakers, and rest in peace, Peter Green.
Right.
Well, you know, they got to talking about their influences. Where they got to talking about the influences, hell, that's in my backyard. You know, hell, in Arkansas. I mean, all the great blues people, you know, and then plus on the farm, we had some people that worked there that were really good. One guy could blow a blues harp, and they knew blues. And so, and then there was some clubs downtown where I got to see some of the biggest blues acts in the world in a little honky tonk, you know, and I was back in the corner, you know, checking it out. And so I had I heard blues all my life. It was just, I heard it as much as I heard anything else. And then they had the blues show come on every day at noon, the King Biscuit Flower Hour. Well, I heard that. So, you know, I heard Sonny Boy Williamson, and I heard Booker White, and, you know, Robert Lockwood Jr., which was Robert Johnson's stepson. And I started tying into all the rock musicians, and they're going back and listening to the people that right there. I mean, I'm right on top of it. Because Helen, Arkansas is about 40 miles from here. Now I'm drawing a blank. You know, the drummer,
Levon Helm.
Levon Helm. Yeah, he was from Marvel, which is just across the river. And so you couldn't help but soak up blues. And then, of course, you couldn't help but soak up rock and roll, because back in the day, you know, every Tuesday there was a new great album coming out. And we had good music. But to be honest, we bitched about some crap music. Because did you ever hear Billy Don't Be a Hero?
Oh, That vaguely rings a bell.
Or the night Chicago died, or some crap like that,
Want to give a shout out here. We got Absolute Mayhem with the super chat. Thanks, buddy. He says, I got the Stung by a Hornet Today blues. Ben, did you see the telly behind Brian? Of course I saw that lovely telly behind Brian. Like I wouldn't notice that, right? Come on,
I hung
buddy.
it there just for you, Ben.
I do appreciate it. I do appreciate it. And I made sure my strap was on display.
I've got one right here.
Nice. Nice. I want to say hello to my lovely sister in the chat. Good to see you, Amanda.
Amanda, I owe you a story. I told you when on your birthday. Oh, by the way, my birthday was Wednesday.
Yes. Happy belated birthday, sir.
But when on Amanda's birthday, I told her I had a Loverboard story. And so I've been saving it. Okay.
All right.
You remember when they had the album out and he had the red leather pants and the bandana?
Of course.
Remember when
that was the big album. Yep.
Okay. So me and a friend of mine, we took our girlfriends to Little Rock to see it. And this was back when they had general admission. And it was great because you could just work your way to the front. And these girls were crazy about Mike Reno. And it's, I liked it, but I wasn't quite as crazy as they were, but we heard it. And we were so crowded that my girlfriend was in front of me and my hands were on another girl in front of her. It was that tight. Well, Mike Reno did his big move and he took his bandana off and he whirled it around and he threw it at the crowd. And I'm cheering. And that bandana went right down my left arm, went right down my left arm, just wrung it. And all these girls within 20 feet wanted that bandana. And I got mobbed. And it's not my finest hour, but this one girl was biting me and drew blood. And they was trying to pull it through my arm, not off my arm. They were just trying to take my arm off. And I persuaded her gently to let go of me. And I thought I was going to die over that stupid bandana. And then my girlfriend was like, don't you let them have it. So we just had a brawl over that stupid bandana. I talked to her the other day and she still has it. I did come out of there with it. But my gosh, I would hate to be. I mean, can you imagine those guys that are famous that they get that all the time?
Yeah. We had an incident where I helped arrange to have Channing Tatum show up at the campsite at a NASCAR race. So, yeah, I get it. I've never seen so many women run so fast in my life.
I've seen women run, but they're normally running away.
Yeah, same here. Hey, David Ennis. Mom's doing okay. A little tired today. We had Sam over for the weekend, so she's a little tired now. So, unfortunately, but yeah, doing pretty good. Doing pretty good, all things considering. Thanks, David. Excuse me. So I was going to mention also Helena natives, an expat Helena native, we can say, that we've got up here, Mr. Ronnie Hawkins.
Oh, yeah. Well, Ronnie Hawkins, yeah. And it's funny, the only person that wasn't Canadian in the band was from Arkansas. So we have a connection. That's right.
That's right. And, and they did start out as the Hawks. And also, Ronnie largely brought rock and roll to Canada. He was one of the first acts that came to Toronto. And also, a lot of people don't know, Ronnie brought Conway Twitty to Hamilton, not only to play, but he lived in Hamilton for a period of time, which is just southwest of Toronto.
So I did not know that. Well, I guess you could thank him because rock and roll has took off pretty good in Canada. I didn't realize there were so many really great bands that I didn't really associate with Canada. I mean, some obviously like Rush, of course, but and I tell you, every time I think of Canada, though, there's this one song that was popular back about 77, 78. And it was Nick Gilder. It was Nick Gilder and Hot Child in the City.
Hot Child in the City, yep.
It got rotated on our radio station about every 12 minutes. I heard that song it was the same year that Billy Joel had Honesty. So you would hear Hot Child in the City and Honesty. Oh, God, I got sick of those songs.
Yep. So, yeah, he's originally from UK, but, Yeah, he had basically relocated to, relocated to Vancouver by the time he really made it big. And he was also in Sweeney Todd as well.
Really?
Yep.
Ben, when you were growing up, I remember when before FM, when we had AM radio. Or are you that old, or was that just a little before?
Yeah, I had an AM radio to start. I didn't have an FM radio until I was like 8 or 9. So all I had was local AM radio to start. Which, thank God, Top 40 music was you could listen to Top 40 music in the late 70s, early 80s.
Well, see, and like in the early 70s and the late 60s, when I was listening to AM, we had a radio station in Little Rock that was remarkably good. I mean, it was the Mighty 1090, and it had 100,000 watts. And at night, they had a show called Beaker Street.
Right.
And it went out all over the country. And Clyde Clifford was the DJ, and he played progressive rock and, odd music you wouldn't normally hear. So we had this great show. A really great radio station.
Yep.
But, even before then, what was cool about radio back then, and it's a problem now, it's one of the problems with kids, people griping about new music. Well, everybody gripes about it. But on AM radio, you could hear, James Brown, Tony, Frank Sinatra. You could hear not Van Halen, but you could hear, Led Zeppelin. You could hear the Stones. You could hear Sly and the Family Stones. And you could hear Otis Redding. All this different kind of music in a day.
Yeah. Yeah, because they looked at it as top 40, period. They didn't care genre. If it was a charting song and popular, hell, we'll play it. Yeah, I agree. And yes, I was familiar with that station because my dad had told me he would get it in once in a while out on the east coast of Canada.
Really?
He would tune in like this in Little Rock, at certain times a year. And that's the great thing about AM radio. It carried across North America. And my sister was saying, yes, CW's from Helena as well. Yes, we covered that prior to you arriving, Amanda.
And, of course, the story was CW, Conway, Arkansas, Twitty, Texas.
Yeah.
Now, do you know his real name?
No.
I don't.
No, I just remember thinking when Amanda brought up CW again, when CW came up here to form a band with my dad, I was introduced to him as, this is CW Gatlin. I'm like, okay. And I'm 7 years old. And he's from Arkansas. Okay. You know the country band, the Gatlin Brothers? Yeah. They're his cousin. Oh, okay. Sure. And he got my room. And then, they looked around for some talent, couldn't quite find what they wanted. They couldn't find a bass player they liked, so they brought up a bass player from Arkansas, and he was living in the rehearsal room in our house. So, really? Yeah, we had 2 guys from the Helena area living in our house at one time.
Hey, Fruitcake Tony, I'm from Arkansas, about halfway between Little Rock and Memphis. He asked.
Yeah.
And, it's funny, you kind of, Arkansas deservedly gets some jokes. Okay. It's country. But it's a weird state because where I live, it's flat. I mean, there's flat. It's prairie.
Right.
And all the hillbilly jokes are up in Northwest Arkansas, and, well, they earned it, But the biggest hill in our county is the overpass that goes over I-40. That's the highest point in the county. But we farm rice and soybeans. I grew up on a rice and soybean farm. That's what I did till I ran out of money and I had to go work for a living.
Sure.
And that's what people do. They save up to farm and then they use up all their money and go do something else. It's expensive and it's a hard dollar. But, people got to eat. We appreciate it.
Yeah. I kind of got used to eating myself. So I get it. I can relate. But I would say that area also, it does, like say, it breeds a certain kind of folk, like hardworking, know the value of a dollar, and that always produces good music because you don't have the luxuries to go vacation here or there, and you get a lot of families that are musical to entertain themselves, and as a result, you get a shit ton of good musicians.
You get Johnny Cash. you know, and well, you start trying to think of him and you go blank. But Albert King lived at Forest City, and he started recording first at Sun. A lot of people don't realize Sun was a blues label before Elvis.
Right.
It's a shame. It's a shame that a lot of those blues artists, they were popular in the 50s, and then they came back in the 60s. The British brought them back. And it really was Stevie Ray Vaughan that got people listening to blues again. I mean, even if you're not a huge Stevie Ray Vaughan fan, and I am, but not everybody is. I get it.
Yeah.
But he put blues back on the map, and it's still hanging in there because, plus, if you play guitar, blues is fun.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, because being about 10 years younger than you, like growing up, that period of the 80s, like 84, I was 10 years old. There wasn't really, Clapton wasn't playing the blues. Yeah. No. He didn't rediscover it till the late 80s, really, and then ever since he's just straight hardcore blues, but he was still doing after midnight with the horn section and,
he was
stuff
he was getting off on 57 Chevys,
Yeah.
Which was good music, but then.
Yeah. Yeah, so and then I remember Stevie Ray Vaughan, my dad talking about him, this guy, keep an eye, he's coming up. And I knew him I remember seeing him on Austin City Limits, and I knew him as his sister's younger brother. And you never hear about his sister now. She was a singer.
I need to do a shout out here. Brian Dickerson. I didn't realize he slid in here. He is the drummer from our blues jam.
Welcome, Brian.
And a really, really good drummer. I mean, he really is. And he makes it look so easy. He's just killing over there, and he's just drumming. So I'm glad to see it. It's been a long time. I hope we get to play real close distance blues soon. This is starting to suck.
Tell me about it. Yes. It's going to get to the point where, I've seen a few people in chats that have been able to go out and play certain function, private events, whatever. And the biggest thing I hear is it's weird. It didn't sound because you're not in the groove of things, right? It's I always had wicked butterflies every time I played a venue for the first time. Once I played a certain venue once, I was okay. I could go back there 100 times, but and it was weird. You could be playing 3 nights in 3 different towns, and 2 of the places you'd played before, and that one never played before, I'm a wreck.
Well, I tell you what some smart young band's going to do, and I'm surprised somebody hadn't figured this out yet. You take a bunch of kids that get a young band, none of them's married, they get a house, they quarantine themselves for a couple of weeks, get tested, make sure they're all clean, right? And then they could go out and get on stage. They wouldn't have to get out with the crowd. They could stay 6 feet from anybody else, but they could go play as a band. Somebody's going to have to figure that out. I mean, we've got to have music again. I mean,
I agree.
It's been good. YouTube is good, and I appreciate everybody that puts out stuff on YouTube, but it's still not live,
Yeah. Hey, Boner Jams. Good to see you, man. And yes, I'm going to have to look that up. That just hit me because PJ and the Beard, what? No, I'm not thinking of Jimmy. I know Jimmy because he was playing with the Fabulous Thunderbirds, but I could have swore it was an Austin City Limits female singer, long blonde hair, and she said, my little brother, Stevie. Now, it could have been in jest, but I'm curious. I'm going to have to go through the archives. I know it was for a fact. It was Austin City Limits, and we're talking around the same time you had seen it. It was around 83, 84. Because it wasn't a big deal. People didn't know who he was, but he just came on, as a guest that sat in for some music, and he just stole the show.
I don't know. I mean, that's just, you're going to have to, somebody will figure it out. There's too many smart people here.
Yeah. People smarter than myself, I know that. All right. See you. What's up, Doc? He says, got to fly. Long day at work and crashing. Get some sleep, my friend. Hey, Driddle.
Long day at work and crashing has a whole new meaning for me.
Yes, it does.
But this guitar community, this YouTube community that we've got going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. It's amazing the people I've met on here. I met you a couple of years ago, or that's when you were starting your channel. PJ and the Beard came on. I think I caught them at the beginning. Sean Pierce Johnson, I've been with him since he was, and then I'm leaving people out, but then there's Guitar Hack, and then there's Metalhead Hippie, there's Jimmy Meets Science,
Yeah, speaking of Metalhead Hippie, hey, Metalhead Hippie, Guitar Man 45. My question is, how many marriages have been saved because of this guitar community? Because you're not badgering your wife talking about gear all the time. Although, how many marriages have broken up because we've encouraged way too much gas?
It's probably even split. Oh, Jason just said on PJ and the Beard, I was one of the first person to comment on their channel. I didn't realize that. And then we had a conversation. It was like I knew him already.
Right.
And
Hippie, Terry said, no sister, only his brother. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to have to look that up, see what show that was. Original Paramutant, hello.
And I do want to make a big shout out to Metalhead Hippie. He is doing a really good thing for a lot of small channels.
Yes.
He takes people that's got 6 subs and he puts them on his show with us and he's helped me go up from, I think, about 60 to 125, 123, something like that now in just a couple of months. I can't thank him enough. I mean, he's doing a good thing. He's helping people out,
Yeah, speaking of which, if anyone isn't already subscribed to Brian here, maybe one of the mods can throw a link to Brian's channel in the chat.
I'd appreciate it. I try to put out something fairly often.
Thanks, Terry. Driddle's building a guitar. Wife isn't happy with him spending money, but she's happy he's doing something constructive. Exactly. And staying out of her hair probably while spending time working on that guitar.
It's funny he's talking about buying gear. I was looking at my board and all my drive channels are built by people that I met either here or on PJ and the Beard's channel. Lawrence Petross, David Barber, Tim Lewis. That's my drive section.
Right.
And
you know what? I don't have
really
a Barber, but all I have is LPD and Tim's stuff right now.
And what's really amazing about it is, I got a whole bunch of pedals back here that I'm not using. I know you got a pile. Until you play some of Lawrence's stuff or Tim's stuff or even David Barber's stuff, I got to give him credit too. He builds really good stuff.
Yeah.
Until you play those pedals, you don't know what good is. You haven't heard a good pedal until you've played some of these. These are the best I've ever heard.
That was me. That was literally me last spring. I remember the first thing Lawrence sent me was the Swarro Dirty Boost. It was like a Klon Boost type thing. And I went, holy crap. Like, I played it, put it back in the box, drove 10 miles to Richie's place, said, here, plug this in. And he plugged it in and he went, holy crap. I'm like, yep, we're spoiled. We can never look at pedals the same. I want to give a shout out to, we got Paul Ewing here, awesome blogger, and he knows his pedals too. And we got Mr. Sean Silas in the chat. Good to see you, Sean.
It was Paul Ewing that turned us on to Tim.
Yes.
I appreciate that. And yeah. I tell you what, I think the difference in these pedals are, especially, I know Lawrence and Tim both, because you could just take them apart. You took them apart and looked at them the other day. That was interesting. And I've talked about it. If you see somebody puts that much pride in something that's sealed up inside, they care and they want to make it right. And they're going to make it right,
Yeah.
And sometimes they might not, it just strange me that people know how to solder these little tiny things on there, and it makes all that much difference. But there is a definite difference.
I kept hearing, like, check out the inside of Tim's pedal. Check out the inside of one of Tim's pedals. And I thought, well, screw it. I'm going to make a video out of this. And when I looked inside that for the first time, it became to me blatantly obvious his day job.
Oh, yeah.
Because the amount of precision And I went, holy crap. And, he said on air here before, he's an aircraft mechanic by trade. And you can see it in his work.
Because he has to wire things so they won't vibrate loose.
Exactly. And you wrote everything perfect because there's only so much room. Everything's crammed down for size and weight, efficiency.
Right. And it shows. And I looked at Lawrence's after you did that. I took mine apart, looked at it. It's a shame they don't use like a clear bottom so people can see it. It's almost like art. Even if you don't know what you're looking at, it's all arranged nice and neat. But anybody that puts that kind of effort into it is going to sound good.
I fully agree. Hey, Quentin James in the house.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, Lord. Pops. And Jimmy's back. Good to say welcome back. Hope dinner was good. Nice.
Man, I was watching Jimmy's show before this came on. That guy is a monster guitar player. I mean, I had to sit back and go, wow, And I was trying to play along with him, and I'm glad nobody heard me.
Yep. I can't lie. Yeah, I have to agree on that one. That's for sure.
It was funny. I was thinking about when I first got my guitar.
Hey, Music Therapy Laz. Good to see you, Laz.
I first got my first guitar, right? I'd heard Stevie Ray, and I knew all this music, and I was a big music fan. I mean, we rode around and listened to really good music real loud for hours, and we rode around the country drinking beer, doing whatever. So I thought I knew, music. And so I got this guitar, and I said, all right, well, I'll have this figured out in a couple of weeks, and I'll be playing. Well, that's, 40 years later? I can almost make it sound like music,
Almost.
If I have some good people to play with.
Yep. Hey, Pedal Room, Jason Sumner.
Yeah, nice. Pedal Room. Hi.
Nice.
And I tell you, I don't know where he is or where he come from. I think he's an alien. But anytime you go in Guitar Center, there's that 12-year-old kid that's just shredding. I don't even think he's human. I think there's a little robot that they just move around or somebody. And
they just teleport him between doors.
Or I think he just follows me around. He's outside my house waiting until I go to Guitar Store just to make me feel bad because, I'll be thinking, all right, I can play.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden this kid's just, and I'm like, I want to hit him, anyway.
Yeah.
How do these kids get?
I was going to say that's
get that good when they're 12.
I don't know. That's the thing. I tried to play through a Friedman amp in that little room they got in the Friedman booth at NAMM. And it's just that from 9 in the morning till 6 at night. And it's just, no thanks. And it's all stage volume too. So it's not like you can just kind of sneak in and noodle a bit.
And you're out there and everybody, when you pick it up there, everybody there can play. I mean, that's pressure right there. Do you have a harder time playing in front of 3 people that can play than a crowd?
Yes.
It's the crowd. People are
most of the time the crowd just wants to dance, and drink beer. They don't, they don't have a problem, with you flub a note here or there. But it's like those dang musicians, though, they hear it all, and I remember, I think it was Mayhem when I first started, going live and playing music on here. He goes, "You're playing to nothing but fellow musicians." I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't care. To me, it's art. It's not a competition."
Exactly. And that's what I finally had to come to grips with, because no matter where I go, where I play at the blues jams, there's always people that could just play better. All you can do is just play best you can and have fun, because you are who you are, and your music is just part of you. And so it's maybe you just and most people would rather hear somebody that was giving it 100%. And even if they're not that good, you can appreciate the effort and get into it. And people that are just showing off,
Exactly.
Attitude.
We got Half Ace joining us. Crowbar's joining us. Good to see you guys.
Oh, Crowbar, House Face. Is it Half Face or How Face? I never did understand that.
I think it's Half Ace myself, because he's got an Ace Frehley avatar.
Okay.
Yes, and I was going to give a heads up to Metalhead Hippie. Apparently, Amanda has to approve all your comments, and I was going to message him about that. I had to do the same thing last night with Steve from Boston. So you may want to log out and log back into your account, or something's up with your account. Just letting you know. YouTube doesn't like you at the moment for some weird reason.
We couldn't see him at all on Jimmy's show until it was crazy. We still love you, Hippie.
Oh, and that's why I was just sitting there, boom, boom, boom. Last night, during Steve from Boston show. Dang it, boner jams. Ben, keep an eye on the mail for a shirt which has a handsome face on it with a tight flat top. There are words above the head that go something like Erection Jamboree. I want to keep it a surprise. I am so looking forward to it, and that will be opened live on air. I can only imagine.
Boner Jams just cracks me up.
He's one of the best. Exactly what St. Ken said. It's not a competition. Yeah. Then again, it's funny. Like, I remember my bass player Larry, who I had on the channel. He was great. He local. I think it was the local college newspaper. They were doing an entertainment column, and they decided to interview Richie and his band at the time. And to interview him, what kind of music do you play? Good music. So what kind of, what do you mean? Well, that's it, well, what kind of stuff do you listen to? Well, I don't listen to bad music. I listen to good music. Oh. And how do you play this good music? One note after the other, just pulling teeth.
But Richie, I don't know if he realizes how he is hilarious. I miss him being on because he was the best straight man I've ever heard. And I don't even know if he realizes it, but he is hilarious.
Yeah.
Because he'll say
it's either on 1 or 10. It's just 1 or 10 with that boy.
I remember that one night when I first started watching, he had eaten some bad tacos and he was sick. And he was laying down and we could just hear him snoring through the whole show. It was just Richie breathing and you talking. I was crying.
Yeah, I forgot about the guy. Yeah, that was an epic show. I might have to share that one again on social media or something because we'll have to revisit. Yeah, I forgot about the bad tacos because he just kind of get up and left, and then he was talking off camera, and then it was like Richie, and then you could just hear the snoring.
And he just that's old school Canucks with guitars. Now that's just the old timers can remember that.
Yeah. Exactly, and that's why I won't ever change the name of the show. It's always going to be a plural, Canucks with Guitars.
But it's
really, let's be honest, the whole community, at least the ones around my channel, you guys are all Canucks with Guitars, in my opinion. Just we got a good community,
It's a great community, and I'll tell you what else is kind of impressive about it. How long have you had your channel, Ben?
2.5 years.
Okay. I had just started even watching YouTube a little before that, and I think I was watching Tone Talk. I'd found Tone Talk, and then I've been watching that pedal show. Those were the only two things I really knew about. And then we got to talking in the chat, and you said you had a show, and I came over here. Probably 90% of the people that are on here I've seen around for 2.5 years. It's these people are loyal, and some people I don't know how people are on every live show, because I know last week I couldn't watch YouTube at all, and I really hated missing everybody. But I know the Sunday before that I had live shows on from Pete Thorne all the way to the end of Metalhead Hippie show. It was 11 hours of shows, and it's the same people. I'm seeing the same people. How do y'all do it every day? I'm impressed, but
my niece is like, I have no life.
Well, and then I think it was last year I had surgery, so I was off about 6 weeks. Well, I was on here a lot then. I was just looking for anybody live.
Yeah, I can tell when it's a slow night and a few people take a night off, because I'll even get a message, "Hey, buddy, going live tonight?" I'm like, wasn't planning on it. Hey,
you remember
Brian.
But I think the pedal show has done a wonderful job just for YouTube and for musicians, because when I first started watching them was when I first started looking into gear, and I didn't know. My pedal, I didn't even have a pedal board. I just had 4 pedals. I had a Mega Distortion, a tremolo, and a carbon copy, and I can't remember something else, like 3 or 4 pedals. Now I've got, I don't know, 40, 50, and well, they bankrupted me. And something else too? I brought this up on somewhere else just yesterday. I counted up just the pedals on my board. There's 12 pedals on my board, and let's just say they average 150 a piece. What is that? That
That's
runs
what,
into pretty good money right there. Yeah.
Yep.
And then the board was probably 100, close to 200. And then I only got 100 in cables and another 100 and something in power supplies. You can get $2,000, $2,500 on a board quick. But then people will not spend $300 on a guitar. They'll spend $3,000 on pedals, but they won't buy they want to buy an Act 1 guitar and what's that little amp now that costs $200? People bragging about. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Oh, is that the Smart Amp or something?
I don't know. But
it's funny you mentioned that, because I remember when I was in my first band, which wasn't that long ago. I was playing heavy rock and roll, and my pedal board was worth more money than the 2 guitars and amp that I brought along with me to the gig, because I was playing the half stack right here, which is a solid state half stack. I picked this sucker up used for $400. So,
really,
and the guitars, you could pick up an Epiphone Les Paul at that time, $250, $300 a piece used. So, I had $1,000 into 2 guitars and an amp. Well, I had more than $1,000 into my board.
But I think what I'm going to do now, I've kind of got, I'm kind of out on my gain channels anyway, gain pedals anyway. I can't really go anywhere but down from what I've got. So I'm really not looking for more gain pedals. I think about saving up for an amp, and I tell you a brand that I'm looking at that I never considered. That's Tone.
Okay. I want to say everyone should check out PJ and the Beard. Jason's got a roll. He said it's time to walk the dog. So have your good night, and everyone should check out PJ and the Beard as well. Like I say, another great channel.
By the way, they're doing a series. They did a great series on rotary, on Leslie speakers or Leslie pedals. They're doing one on tremolos. And so if you want to get a chance to look at all of them before you buy, you can't beat their channel. And they do excellent demos.
Yeah. And they do that nice video length. It's not the short 5 to 7 demo that I do. And it's not the hour long like Henning does. It's that nice kind of in between.
But they cover everything really well. Their Leslie series was done excellent. And I have to give them credit for that. They came out of the gate and they had a plan. And I don't know if they really meant to grow the channel, but they wanted to do it good. And, they came out, their first videos looked pro.
Yeah.
And then when they did that 19 conversations where we were talking every day during the lockdown, they really honed their show then. And I tell you what, there are some great guests on there. It's worth going back and watching some of those shows. Because Bob Bradshaw was on there.
You can see the difference, even in the, say the demos now, as opposed to prior to the 19 Conversations series, because, it's like any other trade. You got to put in that time, and all that time on camera, you can tell really paid off, because it's just, not that there was anything wrong with the earlier videos, but it's just that little bit more relaxed, that little bit, they've just a little bit more the interaction with each other. I think it's just brought up their game that much more.
Well, I guess it's just like playing live in a band. You learn so much playing live, doing it. And I can tell you, from what little bit of videos that I've done, Ben makes it look easy. It's not. It is hard to do a video, because now I think it'd be easier if there was 2 people in one room so you could have a conversation with somebody. But when you're just sitting there talking to a phone, you feel like a damn idiot to begin with. If somebody walked in and looked at you.
Yeah. You should see when I do it in the stores, because the stores are open when I do it.
Oh my God. I bet people look at you. Well, yeah.
Well, they were already looking at me that way, let's be honest.
Well, it's the genes.
It's
those
yes.
tight jeans.
Yeah. But yeah, because when you're talking to your phone, you got to raise your voice, and and of course I'm playing fairly loud. And lately I've been shooting at the busier music store, and people are coming in like, "What the hell's this guy doing?" But you hand out a couple stickers afterwards, and you gain a couple new subscribers.
And I'll tell you somebody else that hit the ground running. That's Guitar Hack and the Live Wires, Dave S.
Yep.
Are they going to stop doing those? I saw a thing said it was the last one, but and Guitar Hack has hit the ground running. But I'm going to tell you what sells me. I've got several channels that I'm going to stick with forever. It wasn't their demos. It wasn't their quality of videos. That was not what sold me. It's the people. I connected with the people.
Yeah.
I saw you. I said, well, Ben is the kind of guy I like Ben. And Pat and Jason are good people. You can tell that if you talk to them anywhere, they'd be the same. They're good people. Guitar Hack, one of the nicest guys you're ever going to talk to.
Yep.
And all these guys. And they take the time to interact with on the show.
Yeah. Hey,
And,
Electro Omega. Yeah. That's the thing, like someone jumps in the chat, I give a shout out because not that I'm some big, huge channel, but I remember going into a chat, and getting a shout out from the channel host. Nothing worse to me than watching a live stream where they don't interact with the chat at all, because why don't you just do a pre-recorded interview then? If you're not going to, that's the whole point of these live things is the chat, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, I see now. Live Wires is still going just on Monday now. Okay. And I'm glad they went to Monday, because Wednesday, for some reason, I would miss them every time on Wednesday. I have kind of I don't know. But like on Monday, when you go off, they come on. So it's just like boom, boom.
Yeah, it's kind of a triple threat. You got Brian, then me, then them.
I have got to start watching Brian's show. I've seen replays and stuff, but it's for me that's 6 o'clock. Well, I go to work at 7, so that 6 o'clock hours I'm busy. Right. But he does great. I mean, I like what I've seen. I just got to get onto it. And and there's shows that I stumbled into one the other day that everybody from here was there and I'd never heard of. And so I was like, all right, well, I got it.
Yeah, here's another one for the list. I hear you.
And I tell you, I do every bit. I tell you what, though, I do every bit of everything I do on my phone. I've got 5 computers in this house, and none of them are mine. And the only one that I can kind of claim as mine, I think it still runs floppy disk. So there's no point.
Yeah.
Well,
I agree.
Really
I do. I do all my shooting, editing, and then I transfer it over to the computer to upload it. That's the only difference, because as you know, the stupid YouTube app, you got to leave it open on your phone in order to upload a video. And with my internet connection, I can't have my phone tied up for 6 hours to upload a video.
About 2 miles from here is a 5G tower. I'm just out of range at my house, but I can get in my car, drive down there, smoke a cigarette, and it will upload like a 30-minute video. Just 5G is amazing. I don't know, maybe it makes you grow horns or something, but it sure does make it, fast. But I tried to upload a video through my internet, and it was a day and a half, and it was still like 60%.
Yep.
And so, oh, look here. Brian Dickerson said this is the first show he's watched because it came up on his feed. Well, Brian, you'll like this because there's a lot of musicians and a lot of good people.
That's awesome, Brian.
I'm glad to see you.
Yeah. Well, like I say, it's nothing better than seeing someone new come in here, because it's just like, welcome, come in, pick up a chair. If you drink, have a beer, and you don't have to drive. That's a great thing. That's why, like I started doing the virtual birthday parties the last couple of years. I hang out with you folks more than I hang out with anybody locally. So why not have, the birthday party on here, and we can all have fun, have a couple drinks, and not have to drive.
And I'll tell you something else. Brian's daddy, Ronnie, is a monster bass player. I mean, just phenomenal. He can just pick up anything. Those two together are a pretty powerful team. I just want to give them the credit that they got, that they deserve, because they are really that good. and they're good enough that I can get up and they make me look like I'm good. So I appreciate that. And honestly, if you don't have a good bass player and drummer, it's going to be a train wreck. And a good bass player and drummer can make it so easy to play.
Yeah.
And I want to give them credit, even though they have to write with crayons, but I want to give them credit when they do good.
At least they're on the same page with those crayons.
Yeah, and Brian is a guitar player too. You tuning son of a bitch, Randy. One night we were sitting there and we got to doing Sling Blade quotes from that movie. Mm-hmm. And somebody was up there tuning, and Brian was sitting out there, and he goes, and his name was Randy, and he was actually tuning. And he goes, Randy, you tuning son of a bitch. And I mean, it just come out of the blue and it killed us. And then we got to doing it all night. So he's ruined me on that. But that's where that came from. And then the next week I came back and I learned, and I was playing that song that they played in the movie. It was so bad. I was doing that and got him on that.
Vance Hicks says, your show does feel like a bunch of folks hanging out and just shooting the shit. That's why after 2 years, it took me 2 years to find a name for the show. And I'm like, let's just call it the Sunday Night Hang, because there's no agenda. Let's just hang.
And, those are the best shows. It's because there's a lot of people, they have something they get on, they want to talk about. And we're all just sitting here, everybody's just talking about whatever comes up. If you got a gear, and the conversations can go anywhere. And if you don't go with that conversation, you lose your audience, And,
exactly.
So he did it again. We ain't got no effing paying gigs. We need to learn some songs that got words in it.
See you, Knucklehead. Have a good night, buddy. He says, looking forward. Yeah, Nikki Tedesco next week. She's a hell of a player herself. Bass, guitar. She goes live, Saturday nights, and she's there playing along the songs. I got to tune in for a bit last night. She was doing a medley or did a few Motley Crue tunes, and they were just on point.
Yeah, I know. And now I'm not familiar with her. I'm looking forward to seeing it because that's kind of actually a new name for me. But you've turned me on to a lot of, I've met a lot of people and went to a lot of good shows from here.
That's a big part of it.
And, well, and you moderate a lot of shows.
A few dozen.
You've met a lot of, and that's like you do on Pete Thorne's show. He has 800 people in the chat, and people know you now. I told you were going to go big back when you still had like 300 subs. I said you're going to blow up, and it wasn't 6 months. You were over 1,000.
Yep.
And you're just getting started.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I would say you sent me that initial message right about 2 years ago because it was, midsummer. And, you were just saying, and I'm not going to go into the details of our conversation, but you just said, I really like the vibe and what you portray, and it's affecting me. And I went, awesome. And, because that gave me a kick in the pants like you wouldn't believe, because you were one of the first that ever reached out and said something like that. And I was like, holy crap, that's awesome.
Well, if you're on Facebook and you're on forums, it is so easy to fall into being a mean smart ass. That's my nature. I have to work to be nice, okay? Because, I don't mean to be mean, but it's just my thing. And then you get so many dumbasses on these forums, and you just want to argue with all of them. And I got to watching your show, and I said, Ben gets along with everybody, and he's a nice guy. Maybe I need to kind of change what I'm doing. Maybe I'm the problem, So I keep working on it. And, not talking about any politics or anything like that. I can't solve the world's problem, but I can work on me and make me a better person.
Right.
And if I do that, and if everybody would just work on their own selves and try to be just a little nicer,
it brings
a lot of these problems would work themselves out. And I hope everybody is, but it was watching your show was a big turning point in the way I started trying to be. So I have to thank you for that. And
And like I say, and that gave me a kick in the pants to keep on what I was doing, because like you say, I had a very small channel at the time and I could have gone and done whatever, but I was just like, nope, stay the course. And thank you for the kind words, Sean, because I always love having you on, buddy. He says, always love being on your show. I'm here, LOL, listening to you guys and playing my PS4. Nice.
I was looking at the chat.
Hey, Han36 Solo, Robot Master Switch. In case I missed you guys earlier.
Robot Master Switch.
Sometimes I'll miss somebody jumping in the chat, that I'll see somebody talking to someone else. So I'm like, wait, I didn't see them jump in.
And Robot Master Switch is another one that I never can get it all typed out before I forget how to. So I do say hi back to you, but a lot of times you come out, Robert Masterblade, or whoever. I never do get it right. And plus, when I'm driving, typing on my phone and getting these complicated spellings is you just take what you get.
Yeah. Okay, Doug. I'll just let that one go.
And how's your NASCAR thing going? You still doing that?
We are. We had to. We canceled last week's show because Doug lost his internet, but we will be back this coming week. And well, I think we're up at around 40 subscribers, and we've been doing it a month and a half. And you know what? We'd be doing it even if it was off air, because it's that same conversation that he and I have every week. And then we just decided, hey, I'm doing YouTube, and then he started doing YouTube last year, and we're just like, bam, let's go for it. Let's do it. And it's a blast, Hey,
I do want to say one thing to Doug. I watched the cornhole thing on ESPN yesterday.
Nice.
And it's more entertaining than I'd ever imagined, because now, being from Arkansas, cornhole had a whole nother meaning. So it took me a while to understand what was going on. And then I watched that and listened to Doug, and I played it, and it's really addicting. I can see where people get into it big time, because you can do it drunk. You just don't do it well, but you can still do it.
Oh, hell yeah. I don't think I've ever played it sober. So.
Well, anything you can
I
do
only ever played at the NASCAR races, and I'm never sober at the NASCAR races. So.
Every time.
Yes. Randy Crooks is asking, I've been checking out the Great Guitar Build. I've been checking out Texas Toast Guitars. That dude is hilarious. Yeah, Texas Toast guys, Matt and Chris, great guys. Great guys.
Is he talking
I've had
about
them on.
that
They do their thing.
Is he talking about that plywood guitar that they're building?
Yeah.
That's kind of nice. I kind of like to have it.
I know. Yeah, it was funny. I ran into those guys at my first NAMM show. We hung out a bit, which was really awesome. And then at Summer NAMM, they had a booth. And it was one of those, I'm walking around the NAMM floor, and the only thing I want is a chair to sit down in. And go over to their booth. There's a free combo amp to sit on top of, a bunch of guitars to play. And I just hung out there for about half hour, 45 minutes. And I played their whole lineup, and they were all great stuff.
I mean, they really make really nice guitars, and they don't use a CNC either, do they?
No.
Don't they?
No. They're all
those are hand-built guitars.
Yep.
And they're not horribly expensive for what you get, are they?
For the prices they're charging, you are getting a lot of guitar for the price. I can't remember exactly what it costs, but for having, like, say, a handmade guitar built in the U.S., and the only real machine they use is a pin router.
And so, yeah. So, and they really make nice. In fact, I might look at trying to get one of those, because they really look good, and I think you can work with them. And that's like your Reno Fin guitars. I would like to get a Ben Coombs model. Your Kelly. Where is that guitar? I haven't seen it in a long time.
That's at Rich's house for a fret level, and it's been there for about 3 or 4 months.
Well,
every couple of weeks I ask how it's coming, and I hear I'll get to it. But on the other hand, he's doing the fret level for free, so I can't complain on the price.
I'll tell you another little project that I worked on. I scalloped the neck on one of my Stratocasters. That's the hardest job I ever did, because getting those little even.
Right.
And I'm gonna tell you something that I get so frustrated with. It's not easy to bend the notes out of tune. If you are bending the notes out of tune on a scallop neck, you need to work on your technique, because I have to really try to do it.
That's me though, because I'm an iron grip, because that, you know, learning on that damn telly with no fret height, I'm just used to just clamping down on the fretboard.
I guess, but it's the easiest guitar I've ever played, and you can just bend. You know, you can just
That
get a hold of
you
a
can.
string. But I play chords on it. I do it, and I put nines on it. But I think if I was going to do it again, I don't think I would go past the 12th fret. I would just go between the 21st and the 12th. Because that's where it really does the most good. Because, you know, down on those little frets, it's
Right.
nice to be able to get under those notes. And
Exactly.
it really makes, and it helps so much with your hammer-ons and pull-offs. I can actually look like I can shred on it. But
Right.
it feels weird at first, because all you grab are strings.
Exactly.
But and I don't know anything about playing any. I've never listened to a complete Yngwie Malmsteen song. I've never made it all the way through.
Neither have I, and that's including seeing them live.
Now, I tell you who was a good show, and I stumbled on him by accident. And I was live. It was a small club. It was Buckethead, and I was standing like 8 feet from him, and he's about 8 feet tall. And you know, I thought, okay, here's another shred guy. Now, this guy actually played an entertaining show, and he can shred, but I don't get the bucket thing. I don't understand that stick, but the guy can play. And I think he's put out something like 500 albums or some crazy number. I mean, he just constantly putting out
it's ridiculous. Yeah, and he's been around for quite a long time, and yeah, I agree. He is one of the more entertaining. It's not just shred for the sake of shred. There's some melody behind it, you know, or what, I don't know how you want to say it, but there's more to it than that. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, and I've noticed this, because you know the shred versus feel argument comes up a lot. You see it all the time. And it's mostly the guys that hate shred that can't shred. And so, no, I don't want to do that. No, everybody wishes they could. Because I do. I'm not going to lie. I want to be the original shred neck, but I can't do it.
Yeah.
But the difference is, I was watching Guthrie Govan, which is a freak, okay? He can shred, or he can play blues. He plays music. And
Yes.
if you know, speed is great. But it's a thing, and you need to incorporate it, but you need to play music. But so many people spend so much time working on their scales and their exercises, they forget to play music. And if you can play music, you can shred it, you know, as long as it's music. But if you're just going up arpeggios just to be doing it and showing off, it's not going to sound good. But, you know, Chet Atkins could sweep pick as good as anybody, and it was sounding like music. And who would ever thought Chet Atkins would be sweep picking? But I saw a video of him doing it.
Yep.
And I think a lot of times when you're practicing guitar, you forget to listen to the music part. You're watching your fingers and you're trying to do this or that. I've found the best playing I ever do is if I'm watching a TV show and I'm playing along to the background music. Oh man! And then I start hearing what I'm playing. I'm not even thinking about it. I'm watching TV. Oh, I play some good stuff then. And then I try to get on the video and catch it on video, and then that red light comes on, and then my fingers lock up, and you know, I sound like I need to go back and practice some more.
I see Quentin's enjoying his new Digitech unit. Nice.
You know, I saw that thing that Quentin got. But that's better than that old Zoom 505, I'm guessing, right?
Probably. I would think so. I don't know.
The problem,
I only ever bought one Zoom unit, and I think I bought it in 1997, 1998.
You know, the only problem I have with multi-effects pedals, I can see where they're handy and they work and they make it. I think they're really good if you're trying to learn about what sounds, you know, what you're looking for. But my problem is, like, for example, I like Lawrence's 87 pedal, but I like Tim's fuzz. And then I like, you know, a carbon copy.
Yeah.
And you know, so I don't want everything from MXR. I don't want everything
Exactly.
George Tripp does. I want to find the different pedals that sound the best. And I'll tell you a little steal on reverbs. If you're going to catch a good reverb, that Digitech Polaris
Oh yeah.
it's like under $100, and it's got lexicon algorithms in it. Oh, it's awesome. I mean, it moved my Hall of Fame off the board. Just
Interesting.
it's
I'll
really
check
really
that out.
good, and it was under $100. Well, I picked up that from Dave Friedman. He was talking about somebody asked him about his favorite reverb pedal, and that
Right.
was the first thing out of his mouth. And I figured you can't go wrong listening to Dave Friedman.
That's true. That's
I
true.
mean, he kind of knows.
Well, let's be honest. He's probably, had his hands on just about every piece of gear with the amount of rigs he's built over the years, beyond anything that he'd be doing interacting with his own stuff.
Well, on top of that, he was in that rental. He worked for a backline rental company. He said he literally had everything. He has played everything. He doesn't just know Marshalls. He knows Fenders. He knows, and he's done it all his life. And he's obviously smart. I know one thing that I would really love to do. I would like to know how to build amps. I think that is a fascinating thing. I watch Uncle Doug. Have you ever watched him?
Yes.
I'm talking about.
Yep.
Uncle Doug is a lot cooler than he sounds. He sounds like a boring math teacher, right? Well, I think he actually was a math teacher. But, he sounds real straight. Doug is cool. Have you ever noticed little songs he plays?
Mm-hmm.
And then he builds hot rods. He was in one the other day, and he punched out, and he was doing about 140 down the street, But
on that.
Just the idea of building an amp, I think it'd be so. I'd like to go to like that class that Bruce Nader does, or
right.
And wouldn't it be awesome to build your own amp?
Hell yeah. I know Lawrence has built some amps in his time, and Tim Lewis is designing some amp stuff.
Yeah, I told Tim. In fact, I'm talking to Tim about an amp that I'd kind of like to have, and it's kind of something he'd already worked on, and we've been kind of talking back and forth. But I've got an idea for a pedal that I cannot get anybody to understand, and I hope somebody's listening. Lawrence, I want a low gain pedal, and I want it combined with a compressor, but I want the initial attack to go away. And then as the note naturally fades off, I want this compressor to bring the note up and sustain it out. So you can have that long sustain with a low gain pedal. I think that would be great. And just knock the initial attack off and let it just drop out. And then as it comes in, as the note's falling off, I'm sure it could be done. Somebody smart enough to build pedals could probably figure it out. I don't know. Do you think somebody could do that?
I'd like to think that Lawrence is smart enough to pull something like that off, that could possibly put something on a breadboard and see if he can work it out.
I guess the problem is, though, if he can sell it.
Check the area from Keeley.
Oh, okay. Well, anything from Keeley's good. That. And that's one thing I'm impressed in the pedal business, because sometimes it's kind of hard, like how these guys are all friends and competitors at the same time. That's not my nature. It's kind of hard for me. And sometimes I feel.
When was the last collaboration you saw between Ford and Chevy?
Exactly. But I like what Dave Friedman said about it. And this is how he explained it. He says, if you like what I build, you'll buy it. If you don't, you won't. You'll buy this other.
Yeah.
So he builds stuff if they like what he's building. And obviously people do, because he sells a lot of amps. But, if you build good stuff, it'll get around. The only thing I feel bad about is I don't have enough pedal space or money to buy all the pedals that I'd like to buy from people that I know. I'd like to own everything Lawrence has, everything Tim's built. Well,
you and me both.
And Josh Scott is a pretty good example. I mean, I think he got in the pedal business because he's just a pedal fan.
Yeah.
And so when he builds a pedal, it's because he's like something. I traded him a pedal, or I traded him a piece of rack gear for a pedal one time. And so if you've got something kind of unique and he wants it, he'll swap with you. He's got a place on his website.
Yep. Yeah. It was funny, because, and I was thinking of Josh, what other owner of a pedal company makes videos that'll say, like, here's my pedal, but here's a cheaper version that does the exact same thing made by somebody else.
He's either a genius or I don't know if he understands a business plan. He might actually really be on it, You know what, Josh? I know what Josh Scott did. I know exactly. It just occurred to me. Remember that Christmas movie, Miracle on 34th Street?
Right.
Okay, remember how they were going to fire him because he was saying, well, if you want this, you need to go over to this other store. And it actually sold more stuff. Josh was sitting around Christmas one day getting drunk and said, aha, that's the plan.
Yep. Exactly. Because as a result, I'll watch any video that Josh makes and I trust his opinion.
Yeah. I mean, he knows. I mean, one time he was on that pedal show and he was talking about the history of distortion. That's a great show.
Yes.
It goes to the whole evolution from the fuzz and all that. But talking about pedals, there's something else. I know it's so much, you only got so much time doing a demo. But I've realized I hate getting two pedals at the same time. I like to get one pedal and not get another one for at least a month and let me dig into that pedal. And I'll move it around my board. I'll move it in front of one, behind one. I'll turn this knob. I'll turn that knob.
Yep.
And then I'll just be sitting around thinking, hey, what if I did this? And then I'll swap a guitar. And like that Gretsch, I'd have never thought it worked so good with fuzz. But man, it is the fuzz playing. I mean, that's the guitar you need for fuzz. And who would think a hollow body and fuzz would go together? If it works, it works,
Yeah. Why not? Aaron wants to give a shout out to Lawrence's Vermin pedal. It's still his favorite rat-esque pedal around. I was using mine before we went on air tonight. I love dumping that Vermin into the 87.
I have never played a rat pedal of any kind. I think that's probably going to have to be the next pedal I get is a Vermin. Because, for some reason I missed rats and OCDs. I've never owned either one of them. And
I was looking at OCD the other day. I used one in a series of demos I shot on Friday. So the guitar demo is coming out the next couple of weeks. The dirt is provided by an OCD, and I was like, okay. I was playing it through Deluxe Reverb, Fender Deluxe Reverb. That's what it was, I think. Twin. I don't know. It was loud as hell. It might have been a twin.
But I had a D&M drive. And I didn't realize that actually a D&M drive was basically a really good OCD and a really good Klein. So I saw a video once where a guy they compared them. And I wish I still had that pedal, but I was trying to trade for something and it was the difference in making the trade or not. So I traded it off. And then I've got these pedals. I'm good. But I would like to have a real actual Klein pedal. Have you ever messed with those any?
I haven't got the chance to try an actual Klein.
But,
although it is on my wish list. But
a good Klein clone even. But, and another shout out to Tim. I want to say something he did that impressed me as a person. He's a nice guy. He builds a really great Klein clone. And somebody mentioned that, Bill Finnegan is building KTRs again. He pulled he pulled them off the market. He says, I'm not going to compete and try to rip off the original guy. He said, if he ever quits building them again, he said, I'll start selling them again, but I'm not going to go up against a good guy selling his own pedals. That's a class move. He didn't have to do that.
Yep.
Because everybody has ripped them off, and it's so bad. And it's a shame he sold those pedals for what, $200, and now they're worth $2,000.
Yeah. Hey, Great Vanzini is here. Good to see you, man. Adam D.
Another great. Vanzini's got a Gretsch like mine. They're great guitars, aren't they?
Yes.
I tell you, those are some that series of whatever they are. Those guitars are nice because I picked that one up in a guitar store just because it just looked cool.
Mm-hmm. I remember when you
And
got that Gretsch.
And I was playing it, and I was thinking, this is a $900,000 guitar. It's what it felt like. And then I looked at it, and I couldn't believe it was like 350, 400, something like that. And my wife bought it for my birthday. Yeah. And it's nice. And I didn't realize how cool a hollow body is. If you don't have one, you need one, because it's like that middle ground between an acoustic and an electric. You can play acoustic. You can use acoustic style of playing on it, but be electric and have all your sounds. Yeah. So if you're going to sing and play, it's a great guitar to do that with.
Streamliners. Thank you, Gray Vanzini. Yes. Actually, there's a Gretsch I want to shoot a demo on next week. It's sparkly blue. It's got 3 pickups and a couple of switches up here. And I just went, oh, man, that's awesome. I got to play that by Reno to Time the other day.
Well, what blows me away is how good the neck is. I mean, it's got the best action. It came with the action just stupid low. And it doesn't buzz anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
But now, Vanzini, what do you think about those pickups? Do you think it'd be worth putting some real Broadtrons in it or something? Or you think you like those that come in it? Because those are the...
I can say while waiting on him, if you put the real deals in, it will brighten it. So if you think it's a little dark, go for it. But if you like the tone, it will brighten the tone up.
See, I'm debating on that or putting some. See, it's got humbucker size in it right now. I'm thinking about getting some humbucker size P90s and put in it. What do you think about P90s in a hollow body? Is that a good plan?
Well, Eddie Cochran liked it.
He did okay, didn't he? He did pretty good. People still talk about it.
Yeah. I thought he did all right.
I know, but you've got me on this P90 kick when you got your guitar.
And you know what? I always love P90s, but we can, again, blame Richie on that one, because when Travis offered to build that first guitar, we were trying to figure out pickups, and he's like, dude, you already got one with single coils. You already got one with actives. You already got a humbucker. You need a P90. I was like, damn it, you're right. And the next one is going to be a set of, or a Telly with Broadtrons in it. Those sound really cool, too.
I'll tell you what I'm thinking about. I've got another guitar that's got a rosewood neck on it, and I've got 2 single coils and a humbucker. I'm thinking about buying a Lawler P90 and putting in that bridge behind that, and then just set it up with 2 Lawler. I think they're the specials, a little bit hotter single coils. Right. And then that P90, and they make a F-Space P90. It would be perfect. I bet that would be cool in a Strat, don't you?
Oh, hell yeah. That'd be damn cool.
Because I'm going to tell you, this guitar, I want to show it real quick. If you've watched my videos, you've seen me play it. My wife, I love her. She's a great woman. I was looking at guitar bodies and talking about building a guitar, and she just got online on Reverb or something and saw that body and liked that color and just ordered it. I said, hey, I bought you a body. And then this neck, it's just a super flame. It's awesome neck. But some idiot had drilled holes in it trying to, it was a mess. So I spent a lot of time. And then that Christmas, she bought me a set of Lawler Blackface. And I'm going to tell you, if you got a Strat, don't even bullshit around on nothing else. Save up your ducats and get some sort of Lawler pickups. It's the difference in sounding like you want it to sound, or sound like a Strat's supposed to sound, and not being right. They are that good. I don't know what he does different, but they are just hands above anything else I've ever played.
Nice. Hey, we got Sexy Bearded Viking Wizard, the Badass Aussie in the chat. One of the most badass names in YouTube right there.
That is an impressive handle.
You would never type that one on the road.
No, I'd never type it, no. And I don't know what I'd call him. Viking.
Yeah, because you don't want to just go, hey, sexy.
Well, no, they think I was talking about you.
Well.
You know you are. All them girls be hollering for you.
Yes, Doug wants to give a shout out to friend's channel, Fog Blues. They was Whoops. It always skips ahead when I'm reading one. They were one of the finalists at the International Blues Challenge in Memphis this year.
Really? Where are they from? Are they from Canada? Or
I think they're from Doug's area, Kitchener-Waterloo, which is about an hour and a half west of Toronto.
Oh, well, I would have liked to have. I've been to that blues competition, not this past year. The year before, I had a friend that was in it. His name is Swamp Donkey, which is a great name. And he plays an old national. And he's a hell of a guy. I tell you, Memphis has got a lot of good music. I mean, obviously Memphis has like it, but I like playing around Little Rock and you know, not in Memphis, because it seems like the Memphis guys are pretty much their own little group.
Right.
They're good. And playing. I tell you what was nice when I was coming up playing, when we were playing in bands years ago, when I was doing, playing a lot in bands, playing out. We made a lot of money playing in these little setup honky tonks. Well, they didn't even sell booze; they just sell setups, and people brought their own bottle.
Oh yeah,
we were making $600, $700, $800 a night. I mean that's pro level money now. And we were playing 3-4 nights. I mean, I was making good money, and I was spending it all. Of course, I didn't, but we didn't appreciate what we had. But the only thing about playing in clubs around here, you've got to play everything from metal to country. You'd better know the top country and the top, And it's weird to go. It's weird to go from like, Ozzy Osbourne to George Strait. That's a weird transition.
Yep.
Get your head around.
Yep.
And I'll tell you something else. We play the shit out of Freebird. We are on it. Because people want to hear it, and it's fun to play. I don't care if I've heard it 10 million times. If I'm getting paid, I'll listen to what people want. Now, if I'm playing for free, we're gonna play what I want. As long as the money's coming in, I'm a whore. I'm a music whore. I'll play anything that I can.
That's the way it works.
Only thing I can't play is reggae.
It's not easy. If you have the right drummer and bass player, it really helps.
Now, I like it, just can't play it.
Yeah. I find more when I play reggae, I don't play with a pick because it's so much on the backbeat. I like to just grab the strings with my fingers.
That's a skill that I've never developed, is playing without a pick. But it's funny, when I play bass, I never use a pick on bass. But I'm not a very good bass player either, so that might.
Yeah, I'm a terrible bass player, and I've played bass as a gig twice in my life, and both times I started the night without a pick, and after the first song of the night, I grabbed a pick. I was like, I don't use those muscles ever.
But, I found, like, when I do music videos now, when I make this, I don't like using backing tracks because I feel like I'm taking somebody else. I started making my own backing tracks. I might borrow a drum track because I just don't have the capability.
Sure.
But I like to play the bass and the guitar, do all the guitar parts and the bass part. I have found that the bass part, when I'm doing that, is the most fun track that I do. I love doing it because, bass is like playing lead all the time. It's like you get to play lead from the beginning to the end.
Yep.
And it's probably because I overplay on bass. Probably I need to play about half as much, and I'd be a lot better. But I tell you, people that really get serious and play bass right, that's an art. I mean, that's something totally different than guitar, and it's hard to get my head around. And I have a lot of respect.
I agree. Janice is headed out. See you, Janice. And hello to Stephen Douglas. Welcome. Doug says, you remember Freebird? We didn't see any kind of a bird in the infield for 2 weeks, and all of a sudden 2 doves showed up during Freebird. I do remember. That was freaky.
Really?
Yeah, because we're watching Leonard Skinner during a pre-race show at a NASCAR race on the front stretch, so not a lot of wildlife to begin with. And then, during Freebird, 2 doves, and I didn't see anybody plant them or anything, and he was out front, so he didn't see anything. I was basically backstage, and I didn't see anything happen backstage either. So that was just one of those deals that I'm just like, yep, I am just a small pebble in this world,
Well, that is super cool. That is.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned NASCAR. You know, I have never been to an actual race. Every time I've tried to go, I've gone to the hospital for something else. I get sick, and so I quit buying tickets. But I did go to Memphis and drive those cars.
Oh yeah.
On that 3/4 mile track. And
Yep.
I talked, and that 3/4 mile track was perfect because you can get up about 130, and then you got to turn tight, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I went out there, and this guy was talking about how good he was and all that. You know, he was going to show us. I ended up passing him twice in 12 laps.
Nice.
And I was, and they let you take a video, and you know, while you drive, you get a video.
Right.
I picked up almost 25 seconds from my first lap. I mean, I was gaining 10 seconds a lap. If they'd have let, and see, I drive a big truck. I used to drive a tanker truck. So you know how to feel for corners. You know, you
exactly.
can feel when it's.
You can drive by your ass.
And so I was feeling, and we used to have this bridge that was a 2-lane bridge, and there was no shoulder. So, I mean, like when you went across it, you know, you were 6 inches from the wall, you know. Well, I did that all my life. I grew up there. That's where, you know. And so I'd fly across that bridge, meeting other trucks. And so I come out of that curve one time, and I was on it. And I kind of had it just, I mean, I wasn't sideways, but I mean, I was just loose enough that I was just drifting right towards the wall. That dude on the radio about freaked out. Well, I never did get a car width. I mean, I was 8 feet from it, and he was panicking. But now, that was a lot of fun because it's fun to get in something and just give it hell, you know.
Looks like Metalhead Hippie's headed out, so everyone should check out his show. We'll go in, we'll take it up to the top of the hour, and then we'll hand it off to him. Why not? Everyone should check out Metalhead Hippie at 10 o'clock.
I'll see you over there tonight.
And I saw here Marty V. Good morning, Marty, because Marty is in the Netherlands, so it's like 4 in the morning there.
Really?
Wild man.
That's you know, that's something else that amazes me is how many people that you see from Europe at these crazy times.
As I always say, the insomniacs and the unemployable. My kind of people. And Pooh Ninja, he's tuning in from the moon. So there we are. And Brian's headed out. Well, thanks for stopping in, Brian. That's awesome. We always like seeing a new member of the community, man. And
take it easy, Brian.
Jimmy's headed out as well. It's all right. We still got 58 people in here. Wow. You know, that's better than half my gigs usually.
Thanks, Sean. We appreciate that. You know, that's what I was telling you the other day about voice to text.
See you, Sean. Have a good night, buddy.
It doesn't work for me. It's you said, what's his name? Sean? No, it's Sean. Voice to text just looks at me and goes, what? And Siri, she didn't have a clue what I'm talking about. So I just gave up on that because I'd have to get a translator. And I swear I have tried to like lean out this Southern accent. No.
Yeah, you know what? I'm surprised I haven't picked it up because Doug knows and it pisses him off. I pick it up almost every year that we go down south. It would get a little bit better. I was a little bit better each year, but that first year I could not shake it. And then it got to the point where, because, you know, after 2 weeks, you know, I'd be like, I had my girlfriend down there one year and Doug and I were going to go off somewhere. So I just said to a mutual friend, you know, just tell her I'm going over yonder and I won't be much longer than a spell. And so she relayed that word for word to my girlfriend who said, what?
Well, you know, Hack's wife, remember when they went to NAMM, was it last year or year before?
Yep.
And he started picking it up and she was about ready to divorce him if he didn't quit.
Well, consider, the first phone call back up here, my first year down south, I called her on Sunday morning. She answered the phone and I said, hey, baby, how y'all doing? And she said, that accent better be left at the border.
But I'll tell you something about accents, because when I drove trucks, I did the whole 48 in Canada, so I heard them all. No matter where you are, there is a strong accent, and you sound just as dumb if you're from Boston, if you come to Arkansas, as I do when I go to Boston. Yep. You know, so that accent. And I had a friend that was from the Upper Peninsula and Michigan, right up. I don't know that country, but it's basically Canada, isn't it? The UP.
It's further north than me.
Okay, but I mean, culturally, the UP and Canada is a lot alike.
Yeah.
And he sounded Canadian, and we gave him such a hard time because he was like, yeah, but when I went to Canada, they just looked at me and kind of grinned. But I tell you what was funny, you should have heard me in Germany trying to speak German.
I could just imagine.
The first thing they teach you in the Army is how to get to the train station. That's the first sentence. They have a little class. And German, so you've talked to Henning, Now I'm like, Bo West to Bahnhof. And they're looking, and finally I would try to talk, and I mangled it up so bad, Germans would just be saying, just speak English. We can understand your English a lot better than your German.
Yeah.
But Germany is a cool country. You ever been over there, done that?
I have not. I really want to get over to Europe at some point.
That was the main reason I went to the Army. I was probably the worst soldier in the history of war. Okay, I didn't care. My whole goal was to go to Amsterdam, and I was lucky because when you were in the Army, they would give you these, like on the weekend, you get this trip, a tour, like Austria, so I got to do things for like $80. I skied in the Alps for $80, and we did that a lot. I went to Oktoberfest in Munich. The real Oktoberfest, right? We're not talking about some bullshit imitation. We're talking about the home ground. And they got these mugs. You've seen the big German mugs. They're like a quart or thunder mugs. We got so drunk. We was on the train. We missed the town I lived in, and we went 100 miles too far, and then we was broke. Had to hitchhike back. That's an adventure. We got in. Some guys picked us up that was interested in us in a way that I wasn't. And they kept flirting with us all the way back. Another dude was about, getting mad. I said, man, I don't care what they want to do. We got to get back. Let's just ride and be quiet, and then we'll break the news to them when we get there, But I went to Amsterdam, and it's a shame about the Amsterdam. I was looking so forward to it. I don't remember any of it.
I've had a few adventures like that.
And it was funny too, because in the way you had to work the system, if you went to Amsterdam, when you came back, the first thing they did was drug testing, because they knew.
Yeah.
But there was a loophole. If you would go and sign up for rehab before you reported back in, then you were cool. They couldn't hurt you. So everybody went to Amsterdam, come back, rehab was fun because we were all sitting around talking about all the stuff we did. The counselor was like, no way you can do that and live. I said, oh, hell yeah. I'm not going to say what all we did, but we did a lot of things that probably should have killed us. How I lived to be this old, I didn't expect it. I was shocked.
Well, it always goes back to that one line in the Blues Brothers to the office. It's okay. We're musicians.
I guess so.
Like how, I've had that. How can you ingest the volume of what you do? It's okay. I'm a musician. I can walk it off. It's all good.
But I can't hardly drink anymore. I had to about give it up. I got tired of apologizing. I would always do something. I'd end up having to apologize to somebody, And I would do dumb stuff like, but talking about being musicians, I saw the craziest question the other day on Facebook, and it kind of made me mad because he didn't understand. He asked, are you an artist? If you could, how do you tell if you're an artist, or if you do this, does that make you an artist? You're born an artist. If you're an artist, you're an artist. You might not be a very good one, but you've got something that you want to express, or if you're creative, you got something. It doesn't matter what you do, but if you're, you can always hone your art, but it's frustrating me that people don't give themselves enough credit. Do your
and
thing.
our resident in the chat here from the Netherlands says Amsterdam amnesia, very common.
I like Yeah, I mean, but I tell you, I do remember everybody was pretty friendly. I mean, I enjoyed it. I know I had fun, but they had fun. I think they look, and when you're a GI running around Europe, everybody just laying for you, you know. But
Nice.
that was
And
back.
Patrick actually watched the Blues Brothers this afternoon. That's awesome. And hey, Mad Raj in the house. RJ, good to see you, brother. Nice.
You talk about a guitar player. There's one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I watched the Blues Brothers yesterday. My wife said, "Are you watching that again?" I said, "Well, it's on."
You know, the funny part is, I remember, of course, watching it for the first few times as a kid. And you let's say you'll get half the movie, right? But all the inside stuff, especially the musician jokes, there's so many inside musician jokes.
Oh,
And it's one of the few movies, that in Spinal Tap, that I would watch with my dad, who at best would chuckle during a movie, and he'd be in hysterics. And I'm like, I don't get it. And then then you start watching them as a teenager, you get a bit more. But now you watch those movies, I'm like, I get it. It's like,
well, Blues Brothers. It was so. I mean, I remember that. Me and my cousin went in the theater and watched it when it was first released,
nice.
and we just stayed and watched it again. We went to the first show, and we just stayed and watched it again. It was that good. We called it a go see them twice movie. And Lord, I don't know how many times I've seen it because it's just great.
Yeah.
You know, the Reverend Cleophas James. I mean, I would go
Are you
see
guys,
James Brown.
are you guys AFM? What if we're not? Show us your union cards. See, the funniest part is I remember that because my dad was the president of the local chapter of the AFM at the time. So I knew exactly what the AFM was.
Really?
Yep.
I wish that. Now, that was another subject, but yeah, I love the gnome with the ruler, you know.
Yep.
But there, like I said, there's so much. But I tell you what, I didn't realize for a long time is how massive that band actually was. I mean, those were those were the guys.
They had the real deal players in that band. Well, that was the thing because what was it? Dan Aykroyd had always been kind of into music, and so had Belushi. And they said, "Hey, if we do this, let's do it right." And and then that was the whole big thing that they had butted heads with Lorne Michaels because they wanted to take a year off from Saturday Night Live to go out on tour. And they said, "No, you can tour when we're not shooting the TV show." But
What something that I didn't know, Paul Schaefer was behind a whole lot of that band. I mean, he was very involved, but he
yep.
couldn't be in the movie because of a contract obligation.
Right.
And but when they played live shows, Paul Schaefer was on keyboards, and that's
Nice.
another guy that's everywhere.
Yes. Yep.
And
yeah,
that basically was this. Go ahead.
I got to see Donald Duck done live. In 1993, we have a huge fair here in Toronto, the CNE, the Canadian National Exhibition, and they have live concerts every night during the exhibition. And opening night is always Neil Young, and it was Neil Young, and his backing band was Booker T and the MGs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My buddy who was getting the tickets didn't want to go because Neil had just wrapped up a tour with Crazy Horse, and he thought it was going to be Neil Young and Crazy Horse. That's what he wanted to see. And then I'm like, no. We are going to see Booker T and the MGs back in Neil Young because this is going to be something you'll never see again.
Oh, that had to be a great show.
It was. That show started with Blues Traveler, which I'd never heard of before. They weren't even famous yet. And then Soundgarden, on the Bad Motorfinger tour. Pearl.
Like I said, my first concert was Alice Cooper in Black Oak, Arkansas, and I think I was 7.
Nice.
So that probably warped my whole perception of the world right there.
Sure.
Because I remember I was such a Black Oak, Arkansas fan. I don't know if you remember that song, Lord Have Mercy on My Soul, but it's got this creepy intro. I knew it by heart. Okay, I mean, I could quote it and do it verbatim. And I was doing it at school, and it scared my teacher. So she called my mom. We had to have a conference over that because they were worried about me. So I said, okay, I'm going to be all right. And but I think the best performance I've ever seen in a concert, I saw Chuck Berry one night when he was on. It was when Chuck Berry did a good show. I don't know what it was, but one thing, Chuck Berry licks always work. I mean, Chuck Berry is always good. You can never go wrong. If you lose a crowd, play Chuck Berry, you get them back every time.
Yep.
But he was such a great entertainer. I mean, he put on a show. And it was funny, the little story about the band not knowing what they were going to play. I watched the bass player run around the stage telling them what key it was in. You know, they didn't know.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
and then when he was done, he walked off stage and he was gone. I mean, I think I'm lucky I got to see Chuck Berry. You know, that's one of the shows. Like, I wish I could have seen Jimi Hendrix. He's on that list.
Right.
And I would have loved to have been at some of those shows that Pink Floyd did when they did The Wall. They did 2 in New York and 2 in LA. I'd have liked to go to those concerts. Those are some. But other than that, if they were touring, we went through. If they came through Memphis or Little Rock, we saw everybody. I've seen Ozzy. You know, all of them. Bob Seger was a good show.
Yes, I can imagine.
I'd have liked to have been where they did Live Bullet.
Yeah. Can you believe we've done a 2-hour set already?
Really? I guess it is.
Crazy, eh?
When you're
so I have one more question for you. How about a part 2 on this? Because I think we just scratched the surface.
Oh, anytime. You just let me know when, and I'll be back.
Will do.
I've had a lot of fun. Thanks for having me on, Ben. It's been great. Because
my pleasure, man.
So many things I wanted to talk to you about that I can't type out in 140 characters.
I get it. Yeah. I get it. Well, yeah, we'll definitely have to do a part 2 on this one. And so, yeah, if you just want to hold the line here, definitely I want to thank everybody that tuned in tonight. This has been awesome. I want to shout out all my Patreons, shout out all the new channel members. We're up to, I think, 14 channel members on here. Christ, it's awesome. I really appreciate the support, guys. Any new folks that came in tonight, that's awesome. You returning folks, like we've been talking this whole time, the community, it is what it is, and we love it. We'd never change it. So I'll be back again here in approximately 22 hours with Canucks with Guitars, doing live Q&A, playing some guitar. Any new gear this week? Yeah, I picked up a pedal last Friday. We can talk about that too. So there we are. Until tomorrow night, thanks everybody that tuned in. Hello, Janet. Welcome. I think that's your much better half. She says dinner's ready.
She's been lurking, it looks like.
There we are, folks. So as always, hold those doors open. Let that guy in ahead of you in traffic. Do good things, and good things will happen to you. Karma is definitely real. I'm living the dream. Brian's living the dream. I hope you are too. We'll see all fine folks tomorrow night. Cheers.